So, welcome back. A little bit different tonight. I'm doing my voiceover whilst taking the dog for a walk. I'm getting some weird looks, I must admit, because I'm sat here talking to my phone on my own. But yeah, anyway, here we go. So, in part one, I stripped back the Marin, the 96 Marin, Muirwoods, however you want to pronounce it. And now in this part two, we're going to clean all the parts up and rebuild the bike, put it all back together. It's a great bike. It's very nice. It's in really good condition for its age. And on stripping it back and looking through the parts, it looks to me like it has actually been serviced quite regularly in the past. So as you can see there, we had the headset and giving that a good clean up. Now I'm just taking the chain set apart. Give that a good clean up, getting all the nooks and crannies. And put it all back together. So yeah, like I say, I'm super impressed with this bike. It's definitely been well cared for in the past. The suspension you'll see later on I've serviced myself, but I want a hell of a lot needed doing, to be fair. Which takes me back to the reason why I think it has been looked after in the past. But we'll get to that part in a minute. For now, we're just finishing up the chain set. Sheep in the background, I expect you can hear. It's not going to be a hell of a lot of talking going on. Stem, the original Marin stem. That was actually stuck in the frame at the point of removing it, but it didn't take a lot to get apart. The front mech, completely clean this down, give it a good scrub up, and lightly oiled all the little pivots, and small amount of grease onto the spring. I like to use a toothbrush while I'm cleaning these parts, or any parts that I clean up really. I just feel that it's soft enough to get, 90% of the grime, and soft enough to not do any damage, should I say, and then but it's still hard enough to get 90% of the grime. So there we are. There's the brakes anyway, we're pulling apart and giving it all a good scrub down. And again, light lube and place back together. Kept the brake pads on this. They're pretty good. They didn't require replacing in my eyes. Now these shifters, they're really lazy. Now what I mean by that sometimes they would shift, sometimes they wouldn't. Sometimes they wouldn't move at all. Sometimes it was like there was nothing there holding stopping the levers at all. They just carry on round. And to be fair, after stripping it apart and further inspection, it was simply the fact that there was a lot of old grease in there. It needed a clean up, which is 90% of the time all that's required. It's very rare that you'll get anything actually broken in these setups. And there it is, all lubed up and light greased, and put it back together, and you'll see now it shifts like a dream. Now the forks, 22mm socket. Take the top caps off and you'll pull out, as you can see there, the springs. and the elastomers. The elastomers on this were in pretty good condition. The grease, yeah, it looked a few years old, but I would say, considering the age of the fork, those elastomers have definitely been replaced. They're in great condition and lightly greasy, and good scrub down, and then re-grease them back up. Now the legs themselves, all I've done there is I've sprayed some WD-40 down into the tubes. I didn't feel I needed to take the full leg apart, simply because the seals, again, they look as if that they have been serviced in the past. They're brilliant. There was no cracking, no little dinks taken out of them or anything. So putting it all back together now, ready to slide back into the legs. There is other greases out there, fork lubes and stuff out there, but when it comes to elastomers, I will only use the SRAM butter, the RockShox SRAM butter, SRAM, whatever you want, however you want to pronounce it. Simply because I know that will not eat the elastomers. Some cheaper greases and lubes can actually cause damage to the elastomers, and they won't last as long. So that is the reason why I will spend the money on the SRAM butter. Pretty simple service, done up nicely. The forks come up absolutely fantastic. The only other thing to note is on the boots there is 3 air holes on each boot. I like to have them facing outward, as you collect a lot of dust and grime on the inside of the fork, which could in turn end up on the seals, causing a problem on the seals. Moving on to the frame, degrease, wash down, wipe down, dried off, and then hit it with some T-cut. There was a few tiny little surface rust spots on this frame. One bigger one has a bit of wheel rub on the inside of the chainstay there. So all I've done here is I've gone around with a bit of Scotch pad and a bit of WD-40, and I've just cleaned them up. When I T-cut and polish that will put a little layer of protection on. I mean, ideally you'd want to paint it, but what this bike cost me and what I'm going to be putting it out for sale at, I wasn't going to bother with that. So there we are with the T-cut, just getting some of the finer scratches and marks out of it. And then to bring a bit more of the luster out, I like to use the Ultimate Polish from Meguiar's. A lot of people use the Auto Glim. The Auto Glim Super Resin, that's a very good one. But I mean, I had this in the garage, and again, it comes up with very good results. Brings back some nice luster to the paint. After letting it haze, same with any polish, exactly like you would your car. Clean microfiber cloth and wiping it all back. It's come up fantastic, to be fair. It's a very odd colour. Moving on to the wheels. That spoke protector, that definitely aged. I just touched it and it fell apart. The rear cassette I wasn't going to keep, I was going to replace because the chain was so worn out on this bike. I just automatically assumed that the rear cassette would be worn out as well. But on further inspection, the rear cassette actually looks like it has been replaced before, and it didn't look that badly worn out. So on cleaning it up, it actually turned out very well, very nice. Evaporust. This is one of my great tools in my kit. I swear by this stuff. I'm not an advocate for Evaporust mine, but it is fantastic. As you can see in the pot there, I had an old chain, very little wear on it, but it had been left on a bike that had been chucked out in the garden when I picked it up, and it was very rusty, so the chain itself spent 24 hours in some Evaporust, and well, you'll see the results in a bit. Just doing the wheels now, again full strip down, degrease, some new grease packed in with some bearings. Usual stuff really. I am getting some funny looks, I must admit. Out walking my dog and talking to my phone. Yeah, just finishing up. Clean there. Didn't realise I recorded so much of this. Some new grease going in. These wheels have come up great. Come up very well. The only thing I do wish I'd done, I wish I put this front one through the touring stand. There was a slight bit of movement on the rim there, and I put it back together, but it didn't look anything like I would be concerned about until I put the tyres on and put it back in the frame, and I realised, yeah, that could have done for going through the touring stand really. So, which I will do before I actually sell this bike. Tightening up the cups there, and the lock nuts, which is ready to go. New tyres. These tyres are fantastic. They look awesome. I think you'll all agree later on when you see it finished. But these are actually Schwalbe Billy Bonkers, and they're the darker tan wool. Right. Did order the light tan. So that's all that lot. All cleaned up, polished up, lubed up. Oop, nearly fell over though. And all ready to be put back on. So the only thing I've replaced, bought new, is the grips. The bottom bearing, once I cleaned it up, the bottom bracket, once I cleaned it up, didn't actually sound that bad. So I'm gonna keep that for a minute. I'm gonna put it in, see what it's like to ride on, and if it's all right, it stays in there. If it doesn't, then I have got a new one ready for it. But yeah, everything's cleaned up nice. The rear derailleur is from a 1998 Kona Hahana. So that's a 98 Shimano Alivio to match the rest of the group set. So it's full Shimano Alivio now. An old chain I had, luckily. The original chain on this one was shot, it was worn right out. That one's cleaned up lovely, bit of the rust remover, and a good scrub up, it's come up nice. very little wear on that chain, it was just rusty. So I shall be making use of that one. And obviously new tyres and inner tubes. I actually went for the Schwalbe Billy Bonkers because I love these tyres. I think they look great on any retro bike. I think they're brilliant. But I actually went for the darker tan sidewall, simply because this is like it's a weird colour. It's like a funny dark metallic-y silvery grey. The sunlight, you can't really make it out properly with this, the way the sunlight's coming in, but it is a really strange colour, this one, and I think the darker tan actually suits it better. I did buy the light tan up there, but they just stuck out too much, so this is what I was waiting for. I was waiting for the darker tan wool to come through, and they came in, and yeah, I'm really happy with the way it suits the bike. I think you'll agree once it's all built up. So enough of that, let's crack on and get her built. Catch you in a bit. And so there she is, all finished. I think you'll agree, she's come out beautifully. Rides like an absolute dream. And note, those tyres, is it just me, or do they actually suit that bike down to the ground? Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that one. I certainly enjoyed that Marin. That's yeah, that was a nice build, that one. And I just want to say a massive thank you to all of you that get involved in my channel, for your support, your subscriptions, and your likes, your comments. It does mean a lot. Boosts me on to carry on making content anyway. But for now, I'm going to leave you to it. I'll catch you on the next one. Cheers, guys.